Welcome to Two Souls Podcast, a podcast to shift, impact, empower, and disrupt your consciousness, ultimately allowing you to thrive in this human experience. Now here are your hosts, Amber Meganhauser and Angela Blaha. Welcome to Two Souls Podcast. Angela here. Hi, Amber. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How about you?
I'm great.
Awesome. So today I thought we would go a little bit different route today. So one of my questions is if people have pain. Like, do you have pain in your body? Do you have headaches? Do you have muscle fatigue? Do you have puking sick flu? Like, what kind of pain do you have in your body?
It's a great question because most of us have pain on almost a regular basis, right? Like we're a human society of painful physical form. I don't know too many people who
Yes.
don't have some type of pain, at least occasionally, if not every single day. So yeah, let's dive deeper into this. So what do we want to tell people about?
How can people without, go ahead.
No, how can we move people through, the process of assessing their pain, evaluating it and then healing it and moving it out. Well, moving energy out of your body is how it processes, right? It is the healing component. So that's really the end goal, I guess, is, to move it out of the body so that the body, the physical form, the cellular structure can actually heal. And we know that inside every atom and particle is just energy. I mean, we have to start believing that concept. It makes healing the body so much easier, because if we can actually believe, right? So I think our topic is,
Yep.
how do we heal pain? At the same time, how do we believe in that we have the power to heal the pain? So, so one of the things is, that we have to believe that we are energy. I think that's the very bottom belief system that needs to be incorporated, and we need to start believing it, knowing it, and understanding it.
Absolutely. And if you have any doubt, that's just it. Like, everything that we work on, if you create any type of doubt within that belief, that actually never comes to the surface. The only thing that comes is the doubt. So the number one step in ever healing your body in a natural energy way, you have to 100% believe, know that it is going to happen. And if you have any bit of doubt within that, it's never going to heal it, because you are going to only bring in that doubt.
Yeah. So the negative energies, they sort of magnify because we have centuries, right, of those negative kind of thoughts, those negative kind of belief systems. And so they're magnified within us. And so we feel like it's really hard to transform those kinds of thoughts, but it's really not. You just have to be in constant awareness and saying to yourself, no, I don't believe that anymore. I mean, it's really, how do you change a belief system?
Yeah.
It's, you have to be in awareness of it, and then you have to stop yourself and say, I don't really truly believe in that. Right? Like, I don't believe that I do not hold the power to heal myself. I do hold the power to heal myself. I'm the only one that can heal myself. I mean, I can go to all the doctors, all the shamans, all the, whatever in the world. But if I don't believe that I'm going to get better, I will not get better. I mean, there's a belief that happens here that we're energy beings. Beliefs are energy. And everything gets wrapped around that belief system. Everything about us, our emotions, our thoughts, our physical form, our spiritual connection, everything is wrapped into our belief systems. And again, they are just energy handed down to us
Absolutely.
from our ancestors, right? Doesn't mean that we have to continue to believe in them. So, Amber, what's the first
No,
thing that
that's
you
just it.
do?
I think
Go ahead.
go ahead. The first thing that I do when?
When you have pain or if you have a sickness, an illness of some kind, what's the very first, if you think back to what's the very first thing that you do? Like what there's awareness, oh, I have pain, or oh, I'm feeling unbalanced today, or I feel sick today, right? So there's that awareness. Then
Yep,
what?
yep. And then I ask myself a ton of questions to figure out where it came from. Did I do something physically? Am I holding on to some stuck energy somewhere that I need to move through? There I just start to dissect the problem and I visually go to that area of my body and ask to be shown like what is causing this, like, and then I just ask like a ton of questions to figure out exactly, whether I physically did something or do I just energetically have something stuck.
Okay, so that's what you use for pain. See, I think that people see pain
Yeah.
and illness differently, like, right? Because it's pain might be something that we've done, like when I fell on the ice and cracked open my knee, that there was pain with that, but it was more of a, well, I just tripped kind of a mentality, when in actuality it probably wasn't. But
Yep.
we're not going to go into that. But there's pain, right? So we attend to the pain is what we do, right? Illness, I think that people see illness in a
Yep.
whole different perspective. But what if they're actually energetically very similar?
I 100% agree with you on that. I think this stems from so many years of being sick with migraines. Is I used to be that person that just looked at the right now, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. What is causing this? I'm sick from this, but I never actually dug down to what was causing that. And the crazy part about it, I think that people just do not understand is a lot of physical illness is things we are holding on to emotionally. And I had a lot of things that I was holding on to that I never dealt with in my whole life. And so it just kept getting worse and worse and worse because I was not dealing with the emotional part of it. But
Mm-hmm.
the minute I did, it slowly reversed the other way back around, and now I'm migraine free for I have been for years. So it actually shows you where it was not one single thing physically. Like I seen multiple doctors, I took multiple pills, I did everything you could possibly imagine for to figure out what was causing these. And nobody could give me any answers. And I think a lot of people that even deal with migraines today struggle with the same thing. Nobody has an answer for you because nobody can tell you what you are holding on to emotionally but you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that, in a lot of cases, like those kinds of illnesses, there is an emotional component, right? It's just like pain, like physical pain,
Absolutely.
we have I have a lot of clients who have physical pain in their joints, muscles, um, those kinds of pain, and it's always an emotional component. There's always an emotion there. Um, Whether or not that pain completely disappears after you address the emotion, sometimes there's layers of emotion. It's not just one emotion. But again, you have to believe that you know, you can transform your emotions, that you can go into the experience that created the trauma in the first place, which is why we have stuck emotion. We can go into that without actually reliving the trauma and transform it. We don't have to relive the trauma over and over and over. That's PTSD. That's what happens with, those people who have that kind of an experience is they have extreme fear that they have to relive it. Well, actually, they are reliving the trauma over and over. Um,
Yep.
we don't have to stay that way, though, right? Like we don't have to be in that energy of it all the time. We can actually move through it, but you have to believe that you can move through it, and you have to. There has to be some kind of a component, even though we say we want to move through something. Sometimes it's safer. We feel safer to stay in that energy than we feel moving through that energy, because what happens to you or what happens in your life if you actually transform that experience, right? You have to become someone else other than the trauma.
Absolutely. I and with my experience, you know, I know everybody's experience is different, but I think you are 100% right on that, where if we actually deal with the emotion of it, who are we going to become? And it's that fear of the unknown. You like, if I do this, am I going to get worse? Am I going to get better? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to change? Am I going to have the same life? Am I going to have the same friends? Like, you do like go through this period where you question every single thing in your life. But I look at my old life compared to this life, and man, like, that is complete misery and suffering. And this Amber is totally thriving and not surviving.
Right. Because you transform the self-worth issues. I don't know any human being that
Yeah.
isn't conditioned into self-worth issues. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how spiritual you are. It seems like this experience of in this earthly human existence, we have we have this embedded self-worth, like we're not worthy of, you know, being that powerful that we can actually change our pain and our suffering. But we are the only ones
Yeah.
that actually can do that.
Yeah.
So that belief has
Yep.
to, we have to be able to believe that. We have to be able to, when we create an intention for to release the pain, we have to believe that we can actually release the pain. And we have to actually be willing to go to those, to whatever created the pain in the first place, right? And we have to be
Yep.
willing to transform the self worth. Like, I am worthy. I'm here. I'm in an existence. That proves that you're worthy. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here in this existence.
Absolutely. So I guess a question I have that, you know, society today has, I don't know what I want to call this, like a huge problem going on among a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there is so many people that just don't know, they are super sick because they don't know themselves well enough to, or even understand like their own beliefs on how to move it through their body. How could we help like everyone that is on, you know, everyone's on a different level as far as knowing themselves and like understanding that you can heal your body. But if there was somebody that did not know anything about this world at all, how could we help them, walk them through like a step-by-step process to understand like what their pain is and what emotion is being held on to that?
Okay, so any current illness that is plaguing the world, right? They have commonalities,
Yeah.
right? So yes, we can have a plague that comes through the earth, and but it has a commonality among it. So the current plague that we're experiencing is teaching us all about the parasites that live within us, and that we need to control the parasitic kinds of things that we're doing to our bodies. And parasites come about because of toxins, right? Like they're there to like sort of hone in or eat, or live upon the deadness of who we are. And we have an extreme um, pattern of feeling dead as a human race. We don't have much passion. We don't have much purpose in life. We don't really have missions that we're trying to fulfill. We're just going through the rat race of the patterns, the emotionless being, the zombie kind of complex that we really have right now. We're just going through the motions. And because of where we are energetically going through the emotions, right? Like we're not really taking care of ourselves. I mean, yeah, there's a few, like hot spots in the world who are really focused on, healthcare, helping the planet, doing all these kinds of having non-toxic relationships or seeing the world in a whole different space. But the majority of the universe or of this earth are very much in a zombie-ish state, very much in a hypnotic kind of, I don't care what's happening in the world. I'm just going to do my thing and, get through the day. I mean, that's the mentality, is just to get through the day. And that alone causes a lot of pain and suffering for us. And so that is the commonality. Like I want everyone to be aware that there is a commonality here. We are experiencing this sort of dead zone, I want to call it. Like it's kind of a dead zone before we actually move into an evolutionary state. And each one of us has to process through this energy, through this dead kind of energy. Um, it's a very painful place to be, because mentally we don't critically think for ourselves. We just follow the norm. Emotionally, we don't really understand our emotions. Like we're very like emotionless. And that's very well seen on, broadcasting today. Like there's no expression of emotion if you actually pay attention to those kinds of
Yeah.
things. We don't have really any creative like really creative um, things happening in the world. We have, you know, um, we have progress in computers, or that kind of data kind of thingy, but there's no real progression. Like when the industrial age hit, like that was real progression. I mean, like there was, people could see and have hope for a future. We don't really have that kind of progression happening, and we haven't for quite a long time, actually. And so that contributes to this sort of non-purpose, non-zombie-ish kind of state. And so those commonalities are very much, can be part of the problem as to why we have this plague thing that's happening to us right now. Because, you know, all religious texts say, that when these things happen, these kinds of big affects everyone in the world, things change on the other side of it, right? So if that's, and our history has proven that, right? Whenever we have these big kind of catastrophe things, on the other side there is progression, evolution. It's all the same thing, right? So we're working through that sort of zombie-ish kind of
Yeah.
state right now into the other side. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now, if we're going to break that down and we're going to say, okay, well, we have this illness that's roaming around the world. Um, how can we stop it? Right? How can we make it better? How can we say, no, this is not happening to us any longer. We're done with this. And we're slowly taking the power back and saying, oh, if this is the cause, right? So the theme here is we have to start paying attention to the food that we ingest. We have to start paying attention to the body. Like, having however many people overweight is not a norm, right? Like that's a big red flag signal that says, we should start taking care of ourselves a little bit better. We should start paying attention, be more aware, be more, have more levels of conscious awareness about what we think, how we feel, how are we connected to the earth and the universe and all it is? How are we being powerful? How are we making critical thinking about what I'm putting into my body, about what I'm putting into my mind, about what I'm putting into my emotions, right? And so we have to have an awareness. The first level is the awareness. That is the very first thing. We have to become aware that we are in a zombie-ish state, that we're not really fulfilling the purpose why we're here, the mission, why individual missions about what it is that I'm here to create. It's not about doing, right? Like that's another awareness that really needs to come in. We are not human creatures doing stuff. We're not ants running around moving sand from one spot to another, right? Finding food. I mean, that's just basic survival skills. We're way beyond that as a human race. That
Yeah.
was back in the Neanderthal days, right? We're beyond some basic survival, but we are still living like we are in survival because we are
Yes.
not critically thinking. We are not connecting with our deepest part of who we are, our God self. We are not being creators, right? Like we are not being creators right now. Um, and we're not having fun. We're not having fun and being blissed out. That's really
Yep.
the whole role of humans is to come here, be these really creative beings because this is a plethora of resources. Earth is a plethora of resources. It's a like a free thinking place to be. But we are not living that lifestyle. We are not living as creators. And because of that, illness is, trying to show us, hey, look, I'm going to come in and I'm going to, change things for you, right? A virus can come in and change things for you. A bacteria can come in and change things for you, change your life. And we see it as we have this belief system or this mentality that illness is a horrible, horrible thing. When in actuality, if we actually saw it as, okay, how can I control this so that it expands me and doesn't limit me? Because, we've talked about this before of
Absolutely.
how um, some people's experience with this illness is very detrimental and very limiting, and it's very scary. It's very scary when you have thoughts coming in that are all about, death and hospitalization and those kinds of things. It's very, very, very scary. I'm not going to, that it's true. It's very scary. But on the
Yeah.
flip side of it, in our
Yep.
experience, it was, okay, I'm going to control this illness and it's going to expand me and it's not going to limit me.
Absolutely. I think, that's exactly what it is. Where if we all had each other to help each other work through it. And we just had these amazing experiences. But right now in the world, all we are seeing is just like how many people had this horrible experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are having the horrible experience, we did talk about some steps you can do, but is there anything else that we could help them get to understanding what their own beliefs are? I mean, we have multiple previous episodes in our podcast. Like, I would recommend everybody go listen to them if you have no awareness about your beliefs and, setting intentions and all the other things that you need to actually take control of your body and your life to say,
Mm-hmm.
what, enough's enough. Like, I don't want this, and I am in control of myself, and I can change this.
Well, I think that's a good point is the control. Like who has control over your body? Who has control over your mind? Who has control over your emotions? Who
Yeah.
has control over your spiritual connection? Right? Like do you have full control over that? If you are looking outside of yourself for all the answers, you do not have control because
Yep.
you're the only one that can control the inner plethora of who you are. You're the only one that control your body. You're the only one that can control those
Absolutely.
thoughts that come in, that flutter around. You have to be able to control those things, and you have to be willing to do it. I think that that's another key component is your willingness. Like, are you willing to create a steel
Yes.
trap mind where you are a critical thinker and you're asking your body, what do I need? Right? Like, what kind of vitamins, minerals, food, experiences, people, like, what do I need? What do I need? Not what does the world need? You're trying to save everybody else but yourself. You can only save yourself. When you save yourself, then you can give the protocol to somebody else and say, hey, this is how it worked for me, which is what we did with each other, right? We said, hey, this is what worked for me. This is
Yep.
exactly step by step how I did it. And this worked for me. Maybe some of these components can help you. But there was not one of us who said, well, let me help you.
No.
Mm,
Nope.
no, we offered, and it was you either take it or you don't take it. And that, I think, is part of the problem with pain and illness is we're constantly looking outside and we're not taking 100% responsibility, which is, by the way, one of the 7 powers of the soul is responsibility
Yep.
for your own health, your own wellness, your own well-being, your own mental state, your own spiritual connection. You're the one. You. I'm the only one that's responsible for all of those things.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right too. Like, I think that so many people that don't have that awareness about themselves or anything within them, they do seek outside their body, and people blame, and
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, I think, is one of the hardest things for people to, like, actually be accountable for, because it's easier to blame than realize, what, everything I have in my life, I have brought into my life, the good, the bad, like everything you have into your life, you bring it into by the choices we make and the things that we do. And I think that is 100%, like, society's problem is nobody wants to hold themselves accountable for the things that they have, where it in a way forces them to turn to other people instead of actually, like, taking control of yourself and, like, keeping all your power within you instead of giving it away to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are those who would argue that that's not necessarily true, that some of the traumas that we actually experience um, are of circumstance and not of within my control. Like in my experience, I've had physical, mental, and emotional abuse. Um, was I a circumstance of those things? Possibly, but it's still my responsibility to understand who I am, to heal up those mental and emotional and physical wounds, and and to live, to thrive in my life. That's my responsibility. Whether it's circumstance or whether
Exactly.
you've actually brought it into your life, it doesn't. That's not the whole point here, right? Like, we focus on that because we want to blame someone,
Yeah,
or we feel the shame, or we feel
exactly.
the whatever it is, we feel it and we want to put the blame on them. We don't want to have the responsibility of, okay, this is my experience. How do I heal this? How do I heal this? Right? Like, that's the first
And
question.
I
How do I
think
heal this?
some of the, absolutely. But I think some of it too, like, people view that totally wrong because, even if you have something that is, a circumstance like that where it's a different type of abuse where it's mental or emotional, everything like that, physical, whatever it is, sometimes we need those experiences in our life to actually, like, push us forward. And people look at it as, like, it's almost like a victim mode. You are like, oh, poor me for something like this, but actually, in reality, when things like that happen and you can look back at your life, that's exactly what molds us into who we are. That's how you become who you are from the lessons you learned, and you gain so much strength from that. So instead of viewing that as bad, like I wish people would just like totally reverse that around. And like even my own experience, like I used to view certain experiences in my life as bad, but man, without them, I would not be able to be who I am, and I would not be able to help the people I help without all of that experience in my life. So it's
Yes,
about how we view things.
it is. But we live in a world of duality, and every viewpoint is valid. So, yeah, you know, yeah. Yeah, we just have to be able to be
Yeah,
open and willing to um, change the belief. Again, it all boils down to knowing what you believe, knowing yourself. How are you, like the responsibility falls back onto you. You know, everything that happens to me in
absolutely.
my life is my responsibility. Um, the healing
Yes.
component, the trauma component, the like everything in between is all my responsibility. But we don't teach that, like humanity, we teach blame, shame, guilt. We do not teach power, healing, control, responsibility. And I think that we're trying to move out of that, we're trying to move out of those lacking kinds of, those limiting kinds of ways of surviving, into more of a thriving society. And we have to really be um, proactive on what is it that you really believe. You have to start asking yourself, do you believe in illness? Do you believe that, anything can come and wipe you out? Right? Like, is there still that belief system? Does something outside of you have that much power? No, nothing has that much power. You're the only
Yeah.
one that can take yourself out, let me tell you. Um, you know, but we have this mentality that says I'm a victim to, something that's going to attack my body. No, I'm not a victim.
Yep.
None of us are victims here. But it is my responsibility to keep myself healthy, to have a healthy mind, to deal with my emotions when they come up, to be connected to all that is, and to like literally be that being here. Like I can't just wish for it. Right? Like we can't wish for those kinds of things. We actually have
Yeah.
to be what we want to be.
Yes.
Hmm.
That is so true, because I think so many people do like, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I had that. I wish I could be like this
Hmm.
person or that person. But it's all about being you, your own unique self, and just, yeah,
Yeah.
living your best life and knowing yourself so much that the belief systems we have, it can totally change your life if you understand your belief systems and what they mean for you.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, to sort of um, gather our thoughts here, it's, what do you believe? Do you believe you have the power to heal yourself? No matter what kind of pain, no matter what kind of trauma, no matter what kind of illness or bacteria, or, no matter what, do you have the power? Do you have the power to believe that you can heal yourself? That's the bottom
Yes. Yes, we do.
line. Yes, we do.
We would like to thank everybody for joining us today. This was a fantastic episode, and I know everybody could use a little bit of piece of this to help you grow your awareness about your own beliefs and take your own control back with your own body. And, also go back to like our previous episodes. Angela and I talk about how we got through this illness, and it actually was a really amazing experience for our whole group of ladies that we hang out with. And if we can help somebody move out of that and know yourself better and heal your own body, please feel free to reach out to one of us. We would love to help you. Until next time, from our soul to yours, have a super fantastic day.